Hi everyone. So my first collaborative tool analysis is for Stormboard. Just as a quick preface, I do teach high school and specifically science, so biology and environmental science. So I'm going to kind of take that focus on this. Whenever you go to Stormboard, this is the website. Here, it's being marketed as an interactive remote collaboration tool, kind of like a post-it system. And if you scroll down here, there's quite a few really nicely outlined functions. So some examples: defining your objectives, brainstorming ideas, organizing things, working collaboratively, and the list goes on. So it does a really good job of kind of helping to give you direction as to what you could use it for, or some examples. Because I know sometimes whenever you see a new tool, you have one thing in mind, and sometimes it's hard to get out from under that one thing and look at all the other possibilities. If you continue scrolling down, there's a little video here that will kind of describe to you how you could use the tool, and then at the bottom some key features and places where it's being used. So if you come back up to the top here, pricing options. So I did have to start my free trial. There are different levels, and with each of those you do get increased number of options in terms of what the capabilities are within the system. And really, the options are endless. So there's really a lot of different stuff you could do here, along with some frequently asked questions as well as some responses. So it is really nicely laid out, even just from the start, in how to get in it. So switching over here, so my first lesson, the synchronous lesson, I was looking at energy efficiency, and in this unit we look at renewable, non-renewable, and nuclear energy as well. So I figured renewable energy is a good thing to kind of go into a brainstorming. A lot of people have some background knowledge, but maybe they don't know quite as much as they think, or once other people get them going, they can kind of generate some more ideas. So I created this board, renewable energy sources, and this would be functioning kind of just as a brainstorming. So looking at the collaborative outcomes, brainstorming is the very first one, and underneath that, concept maps. So this doesn't have concept maps, but it does have a template for concentric squares, which would, in my opinion, function very similarly to a concept map. And I'm not exactly sure where it was, but if you search here, okay, so here are the concentric squares, and you should be able to just select that as a template, and that would function similarly to a concept map. But as you saw, as I jumped into here, there really is a lot of different templates you can use, and the possibilities are pretty much endless in terms of how you want to organize this, or the structure, even just as much or as simple as a calendar and dropping some notes on your calendar, or even doing it collaboratively within a classroom. So it really does capitalize well on the idea of collaborative brainstorming. And if I were to just kind of demonstrate that here, if I were to add something and I said hydroelectric post, it kind of dropped down here a little bit small, and you can change your the zoom on here. So section 1, let's say brainstorm different types of renewable energy, and as I click on this, you've got some options. So the user would then be able to modify this a bit in terms of the color that they want to choose, and how they want it to look. And then a nice feature here is the ability to comment on this tag or post-it. And that does a really good job of having the students collaborate with each other, and looking at how they can reflect on each other's comments or add to it. Also potentially tying in experiences or maybe background information that they know in relationship to hydroelectric, and in terms of what they could add to the conversation. So if we were to remove this one here, another really nice feature that this offers is, if you saw as I went into add an idea, there's a lot of options up here. So you could look at the whiteboard and kind of create your own option here. images, so students would be able to add images again if they happen to have, a personal experience with one of these things, or they've visited somewhere. They could then add in their own image. And then another nice feature is the video option. This is a great little video where you can kind of add in a video and, a comment and such, and drop that on the board, so that students can kind of see that all in one place, which does a really great job of being able to connect in other media on the discussion board, which is really nice. There is a group chat here as well for the entire board. Just because I'm on the free version, I'm only able to add 5 users on a particular Stormboard, which is a little bit of a downside. You do have to upgrade to be able to add more students, which in most instances, 5's never going to be enough for any kind of good collaboration in a classroom, either, a traditional class or online class. So you would need to upgrade in order to really use this in a class. But you do have this feature where there's the synchronous chat option here, where you can kind of greet people or comment or encourage them, which I think is one feature. So in terms of trying to kind of increase that interaction intensity, I do think a lot of that's going to be guided by the teacher, in terms of pushing them in the right direction, or even dropping some comments on here to get them going. So great work, keep it up kind of stuff, and that would kind of help to guide the brainstorm. But the nice thing is, this would be, other than kind of the theme or the directing force, this would be used or organized by the students. So the content itself would be completely generated by the students, and it would really be the teacher who is kind of guiding them in the right direction or encouraging them in terms of what they could add. Or in this instance, if the teacher were to drop a video, then that would hopefully kind of open up the door for students to think outside the box a little bit more. But this is just one particular lesson. I also do highs and lows in my class on Monday mornings, just for students to have the chance to share about their previous week. And it is increasingly more challenging whenever my classes are 25 and more. Whereas I was already thinking how great this would function to replace that, verbal sharing, if students could kind of drop their little post-its on here. And then I would also have the ability to save it. They have some options here where you can generate reports. So a word cloud or a Word document, PowerPoint, different things here. And it looks like, you gain more access to certain ones as you increase your subscription. So there are a lot of capabilities, and then you can also kind of import different things, share some or change some setup options, and then you have some sharing features as well. So it does have a lot of capabilities, and I could think of ways to use it in a lot of different scenarios. But I think it does a really great job in some capacity in hitting a lot of the collaborative outcomes, brainstorming, reflection, being able to outreach to each other, and for me to reach the students, problem solving, so they should be able to see different things people are dropping on the board here, and I would say this would probably work progressively. So what we generate in section 1, we would then build on in section 2. So if we're looking at different types of renewable energy, then let's say in section 2, let's focus on one and try and figure out, or let's brainstorm ways in which it works. And maybe they could find things on the internet or videos and drop them here just to get kind of started. So this works really well as an introductory lesson. And one thing I really liked, although it doesn't work for this particular lesson, is the outlining option. So they have some outlining options for different forms of essays, where students can kind of drop their own thoughts onto a Stormboard in order to collect themselves, in order to write a longer paper, a 5-paragraph essay or something like that. So if you poke around in here, there are a lot of different types of Stormboards to help guide them in their brainstorming, essentially. So although it doesn't really work well for this particular assignment, it would work well in the future for different writing assignments for students who especially are visual learners and they have to organize their thoughts in a certain space. This works really well for those types of learners. But it really does have a lot of capabilities, and I hope that was helpful.